we really need to focus on what are the 3 causes of disease and how can we fix those. Every disease is caused from one of 3 issues. It is either nutrient deficiency, toxin overload, or stress. How much stress has this coronavirus created? Stress is the number one thing that will open you up for disease faster than anything. Hold every thought captive. Take the time to slow down, to enjoy the beauty of things around you. Love on your family, your friends. Don't isolate. And definitely do not isolate those older people. They need you. I had a friend tell me that he hadn't gone and seen his mother because he didn't want to give her coronavirus. I said, oh, you just want to put her in the grave from loneliness. Don't isolate. Love on those that you can. It is the most critical thing going forward from this point, and it is our Great Commission. Nutritionally, there's 2 major things that are going on. We're seeing significant issues with food choices, standard American diet. We're also seeing as a result of our agriculture practices that we're down to like 2% of the mineral content that used to be in our food supply. That's pretty severe. We're seeing the use of agrochemicals like Roundup, otherwise known as glyphosate. It is destroying the gut microbiome, which is the largest extinction going on right now. Without a healthy microbiome, you cannot have a healthy immune system, period. It is critically important to really start looking at your food sourcing. That doesn't mean buy everything organic, but it does mean taking the time to dig in and start looking at food sourcing a little bit more carefully. Toxin overload, the air you breathe, the water you drink, your food choices, your lifestyle. And here's one that is really being rapidly shut down every time it comes up, electrosmog. Electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs. Some of you have heard this as 5G. The science is there. It's incontrovertible. There are issues with EMFs. There's an entire panel of scientists working on it. There's a lot more research needed. But suffice it to say, treat your Wi-Fi and treat your cell phone with more respect. Unplug your Wi-Fi at night. You're not using it when you're sleeping. Give your body a little bit of a break. Don't put your cell phone in your bedroom on your nightstand. If you need to set an alarm, put it in another room. Get a little, old-fashioned alarm clock. Put that on the nightstand. Give your body a break from the constant electromagnetic assault. First, eat real food. This goes back to your gut microbiome. Bacteria are absolutely critical for your health. One of the best things you can do is avoid sugar. It will absolutely create inflammation in the body. So for those of you who are older, you'll see your arthritis gets worse. All of that when you eat sugar. Start cutting that sugar out of your diet. You'll find that you start doing better. Avoid the fake or processed refined foods. Stay away from the trans fats. Vegetable oil, not good. Canola oil, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Worst thing you can do. You want to make sure that you're using real fats. And then alcohol, because it, again, ends up being a high sugar. And am I saying don't ever enjoy a good glass of red wine? No, I'm not saying that at all. But absolutely take it down to some pretty good moderation, okay? Do eat the healthy fats, avocado, coconut, real butter. Do not do margarine. Not healthy for your body. Produce grown in nutrient-dense soil, pasture-raised and finished meats. The omega profile is critical. You always hear red meat's bad for you. Well, yeah, if you feed it a ton of grain, because it takes the omega-6s way high. If that is grass-finished, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, it actually has an extremely healthy omega profile to it. because the omega-3s are up where they need to be. So those are the types of meats we want to be looking for. Wild game and seafood. We've all been taught to go for sustainable. I love the idea of sustainable. The issue is when you look at all the antibiotics that are being used in the sustainable seafood, and salmon is one of the most polluted foods there is now, unless you're getting wild salmon. So there are some issues there, and you really do have to dive deep and do some research to get the good information. You'll find that a lot of that type of information is on Healthy Biomes in the membership area. Cultured fermented foods. If there's one thing you start today, I hope it's this. Especially if you do your own ferments at home. This doesn't mean go get the sauerkraut off of the store shelf. This means get the sauerkraut from the refrigerator section. If it's on the store shelf, it's dead. If it's in the refrigerator, it's alive. It does have a very limited shelf life. That's intentional. It's bacteria. They're alive, and they do us good. Lots of spices. Garlic, onions, spices. The more, the better. Work up slowly. Some people actually get a detox reaction when they first start using spices and haven't been using them for a while. Healthy water. Water in plastic bottles, don't do it. There's a lot of phthalates in there. There are xenoestrogens, and they actually cause real issues with hormones. We need to get away from all the microplastics. City tap water, not healthy. Chlorine, not good for your body. It actually blocks uptake of other essential minerals that our body needs. What do you want to do? Spring water in glass bottles. Well water, check the bacterial, the mineral content, things like that. Filtered tap water, purchase the best filtration system that you can with what you have financially. Be careful of the under-counter RO, reverse osmosis water systems. We've had some real issues with mold development in some of those, and I've had some pretty sensitive environmental health patients who didn't realize that they were actually making themselves sick off of their RO water system tank. Structured water. This is one of the most critical lessons that I think we'll be learning as we go forward. And especially when we go back to Scripture and look at water from the Lord's standpoint, I start shaking my head and laughing. Pollock actually has done a beautiful book called The Fourth Phase of Water, Beyond Solid, Liquid, and Vapor. And he actually shows a whole new way of looking at medicine, as well as looking at what happens with the water in our bodies. You have to realize 70% of the water is our body is water, and 99.9% are made up of, all cells are made up of water. Your home is a sanctuary. Treat it like one. All of those awesome scented candles and everything else, they're actually toxic because they're not real. They're chemical. Really try to take down the chemical content in your house because all of those chemicals are putting additional toxin load on your body. Look at what you're putting on your skin. Look at the lotions. Look at your toothpaste. Look at anything that touches your skin, you should be able to eat. If you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin. It's not good for your skin. Try to do things, get rid of the dryer sheets. Those are another heavy chemical load. Get those wool balls that you can just throw in the dryer. And then the really fun part is when you get frustrated with someone, you can just throw a wool ball at them. They're soft, they don't hurt. Leave your Wi-Fi off at night. Don't consume electronic media for 2 hours before you go to bed. That is the time that we're supposed to be going into that place of shalom, that place of peace, that place of rest. So we're looking for, everything that just kind of feeds that. Read a good old-fashioned book. Listen to some music. Do all of those things that begin to signal your body that it's time to get ready for sleep. It's also a fantastic time to spend with the Lord. Don't sleep with any lights on in your room. When you think back in history, we certainly didn't have night lights, did we? Other than the moon. Or firelight. So if you are going to have a light on, go for the hue of color that you will find in firelight. You could actually find red light bulbs and things like that. And you can use little things like that in your room if you need to. Keep your cell phone out of the room. Do not allow social media or television or the computer to rule your home. Shut it down. It is looking to steal, divide, and destroy. Don't let it. And absolutely don't allow fear to take control. The fear of man brings a snare, but he who trusts in the Lord will be exalted. So what should you do? Use vinegar, baking soda, other non-toxic cleaners. Use essential oils carefully in accordance with professional guidance. Use HEPA air filtration, especially with all the fires that we've had. This is a very helpful one. Change your air filters on schedule. Hardwire your devices in lieu of using Wi-Fi. This is what we do in my home. So we actually have run internet cabling to our computer systems. Wear blue light blockers or glasses for 2 hours before you go to bed. This helps cut down all that blue light that is preventing the melatonin production, which is what helps you sleep. Also, melatonin is critical for detoxification of the glymphatic pathway in your brain. You need that melatonin. Sleep in total darkness in a quiet room. And the most important part, practice gratitude and enjoy life. Love and laugh a lot. Each day on this earth is a gift. We need to keep that focus. And right now, there's so much coming in trying to keep us from remembering that. So if you have to, just shut it all off. Watch the birds. Go play with a child. And just focus on the little things. Now I'm going to move into talking about nutritionally what we can be doing, nutraceutically, what we can do in order to avoid COVID. This is going to be a pretty fast and furious. Here's the good news. The good news is the entire protocol is available for download on my website. Not only is the protocol there, but all the research behind it. 70 peer-reviewed medical journal articles. First of all, huge shout out to the co-authors that are on this. I couldn't have done it without them. These are some brilliant physicians with a lot of experience who have just got amazing hearts to serve. Dr. Erin Keneally runs a practice in California. It's an integrative medicine practice that sees mostly cancer patients with other chronic illness diseases, autoimmune diseases. That is totally Erin's specialty. If you go on to the Pandemic Town Hall, you will find Erin speaks in the first 2 presentations on specifically this protocol and her experiences with it. This is the story of what's happened with her patients in her clinic. 800 to 1,000 patients a week go through that clinic. Okay? Some of the sickest of the sick. Each patient, from the point that they first call her clinic, most of the time they're calling because they got a cancer diagnosis. So they'll call her clinic. At the point that they call that clinic, her staff jumps into action and starts this protocol on those patients. It takes time to get in to see Erin and all the docs are in her practice because they're extremely popular. So it may be a little bit of time before they get in there, but they go ahead and get started right now with all the principles that you've seen me talk about here regarding air, water, food, and nutraceutically what they're doing with this protocol. From March to August of 2020, there was 1 patient who had COVID. 1. 800 to 1,000 patients a week, there was 1 patient who had COVID. The way they figured that out is that patient actually had symptoms, so they tested. Came up positive on the test. Note, the only COVID testing they did is when there was symptoms. They did not test all of their patients. Statistically speaking, there should have been 14 COVID deaths and hundreds of symptomatic COVID patients over those 6 months. There was one. That's statistically impossible without something in this protocol being effective, if not all of it. Since there was only one case, it's evident that the dietary lifestyle pieces that were put into place, along with the nutritional supplementation, was the difference. This is the ACIM Immune Support Protocol. I don't expect you to be able to read it. It's really hard to get it into 2 slides. But I will hit on the key point in here. Vitamin D3. We suggest 4,000 to 6,000 units per day. It actually depends on what your vitamin D levels are based upon blood test. That said, if you're not currently taking vitamin D, and particularly if you're older, you can start with 10,000 units a day and do that for a short period of time, go in and get your blood test, and then adjust from there. If someone actually is showing symptoms of COVID, what we're doing right now is we're actually getting 100,000 units in 3 days. And the reason is there is a dramatic impact of vitamin D and outcome based upon what we're seeing in the ICUs. If your vitamin D level is over 50, your risk of coming up positive on a PCR test drops by 50%. Your risk of death drops 12-fold. You should just be able to go outside and get a little bit of sun, right? And have it be enough. Well, we're moving into the time of the year where that gets a lot more difficult. The other issue we're dealing with is as we age, or based upon the melanin, the color of our skin, we may not uptake vitamin D as easily. The only way you're going to know if you're in the right range is if you actually get the blood test. Here's the great news. You don't even have to go to a doctor to get the blood test. You can order the blood test yourself. And for those who are members of healthybiomes.com, I'll walk them through all of that and help them with that entire process. Now, healthybiomes.com is an educational coaching resource to empower you to take care of your own health. Don't claim to be a primary care manager in a clinic or anything like that. I'm just providing education and resources. The other piece that's in here that's really critical is zinc combined with quercetin is the secret sauce that works for prevention and rapid elimination of COVID in early stages. Hydroxychloroquine is a zinc ionophore. Quercetin is also a zinc ionophore. The difference is getting the blood levels high enough once you've had a significant level of exposure going on in time, okay? The key to this is don't wait to treat. If you've been around someone that has come down with it, if you start to get that headache, you start to get that sniffle, start treating right away. Don't wait. Keep the right things in your pantry so that you're ready when you need it, you can just grab it and go. High dosing of vitamin C works. So those are all things that are helpful to you. The other thing is magnesium, nascent iodine. The majority of the population, according to Dr. Brownstein, he is finding like 90-something% of the population is deficient in nascent iodine. Proteolytic enzymes. I cannot stress how important proteolytic enzymes are. This is something that everyone should be on. One of the biggest issues that we're running into, even in the younger population now, is the fact that we're having some issues with microvascular clotting. These proteolytic enzymes prevent that microvascular clotting. If you happen to be on a blood thinner medication, absolutely consult with your healthcare provider, have that conversation. We don't want to take this too far. You'll see on there melatonin, again for its detoxification capability. Hydrogen peroxide. If there's one thing I would encourage all of you to have in your home, food grade hydrogen peroxide, no additives, 3%. You can get the 35% and then dilute down to the 3%, but 3% level is very helpful. What several of the physicians have found, and what the research shows very clearly, is that you can nebulize hydrogen peroxide and relieve that tightness of chest issues and rapidly bring someone's O2 sats back up. Dr. Brownstein found that he did not lose one single patient of over, I think, 140 treated using this hydrogen peroxide method. Get a nebulizer. Put it in your pantry. Have it there in case you need it. It also works great for colds and other things as well. So what are the conclusions? We're not in a pandemic. We're in a case-demic. Current testing is problematic. T-cell testing looks promising. Hopefully it'll come to the United States. Lockdowns have a minimal effect on COVID deaths. Don't do them. You're inadvertently hurting the people who need help the most. Those that are in poverty already, those that already have significant other issues going on, they can't take the emotional stress and the isolation. And they need to be able to go back to work. Lockdowns increase the risk of death from cancer, heart disease, suicides. Definitely destroy the economy, as well as the mental illness rate. Masks do not significantly reduce respiratory viral infections, except possibly in nursing homes and hospitals if the correct masks and protocols are used. Personal air ionizers do work to destroy and repel viruses. Most importantly, like in the military when we used to take the old test, proactive measures to detoxify the body reduce risk. This is huge. Detoxification needs to become a way of life for all of us. And prevention and early intervention is highly, highly effective. This is the website, healthybiomes.com. 3 simple steps to download that protocol I just told you about. Step 1, go ahead and click on the little pop-up there that says, "Don't stress, be panda-proofed." Just hit download. It'll take you to the next step, which you can just add it to cart. It's free. It does not take your credit card or anything like that. I just have to have a way to get you to where you can actually get to the download. And then for those who would like, and this is purely optional, there is the ability that if you join Healthy Biomes as a membership, and it has to be as a membership in order to be a private membership organization, that's because of all the situations that's going on right now with healthcare and the medical community. You have to keep it as a private membership organization or you can get severely targeted. Dr. David Brownstein posted his successful cases out on the internet. He got contacted by the FTC and was issued a cease and desist. He was not allowed to share those successful cases, even though it was the patients themselves describing what worked for their cases. There are senators who are physicians who've been called in before the medical board for sharing their success cases. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye. Do not get upset with your healthcare practitioners. They're really stuck between a rock and a hard spot right now. They need your love, they need your support, and your understanding. They're getting a whole lot of information from one side. They're all underneath medical licenses, and they're all getting a lot of pressure based upon those medical licenses. You take that plus the litigious nature that we live in the United States, they really have to protect themselves. So with that, what I can only do from a membership standpoint, because I have to protect myself and protect those who are a part of the private membership, is if people join the private membership, they get access to be able to get those high-grade supplements as they choose from a couple of different sources that are out there that are fantastic sources, and they get a discount on that. But again, that's purely optional. That is not mandatory by any means. What is mandatory is download that free protocol. And the only reason why I've done the supplement part is pharmaceutical has done a pretty good job on the supplement industry at this point. And there's a lot of additives and garbage going on. And it's, you know, everyone, you can't exactly say a car is a car is a car, right? Based upon the age of the car, the make of the car, the model of the car, you will see a difference in the effectiveness. Same thing happens with what you put into your body for fuel, for food. Eating Cheetos is not the same thing as eating a carrot, but they're both orange. That's what's happening in the supplement industry. So don't be fooled.